Okay, we're going to be making a graph for a table. When you go to make a graph, the first thing you have to do is ask yourself, on which axes do you put the independent variable, on which do you put the dependent variable? So the independent variable always goes on the x-axis. Sometimes I have people remember that because they picture x like a little person. And say if you're a person with 2 legs, you are independent. Whereas if you are a person with 1 leg, y being a person with 1 leg, then you are dependent. Therefore, your independent variable goes on your x, and your dependent variable goes on your y. So then I look at here and say, what are the 2 variables that are changing? And I know that that is the miles walked and then the money donated. So I'm going to assign miles to be our x and the money to be our y. So my y-axis, I'm going to title it money donated. And on my x-axis, I'm going to call that miles walked. Now I know I'm going to put all 3 people onto one graph. So the smallest unit that goes up by is 25 cents. So I think, well, I could count by 25 cents, but that's going to drive me crazy. I could count by 1, but then it's going to be hard to figure out where the 25 cents is. And so I'm going to count by 50 cents because I can split 50 cents in half to get to 25 cents. So I'm going to go over to my y-axis, which is the money, and I'm going to be counting by 50 cents. So that means that this line is 50 cents, and I'm just going to label then every dollar. There's 50 cents, there's another dollar, 50 cents, another dollar. And so now I'm skipping 2 every time I get to a dollar. So I'm just going to skip 2. And that tells me that then every line is worth 50 cents. Sorry, that's an 8. 9, 10. And just to give myself some extra room, by the way, sorry, the origin, this is always 0, 0. Notice I'm labeling on the lines as well, not in the spaces. I think I'll say that 2 spaces is worth 1 mile. 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 That will make it so that every space is a half mile, not that I need to graph that. Okay, now I'm going to start putting some points on, and since I wrote Dion in green, I'm going to use green to put the points on for Dion. And I can see at 0 miles, Dion walked a 0. So when x is 0, y is 0 for Dion. So I'm going to put a dot there. When Dion walked 1 mile, he got $2. So for 1 on the x, I go to 2 on the y for the money. When x or miles was 2, money or y was 4. So I go to 2, and then up to 4, and then I have 3, and then I go to 6. Okay, so there's Dion. Just to help me keep track of this, I am going to connect those with a line. I just have to make sure it matches up with my dots, and I can extend it because it's a linear relationship, meaning it's making a straight line. Okay, next I'm going to look at Taylor. I'll do Taylor in red since I wrote all of her stuff in red. So when Taylor's at 0 miles, she gets $3 because she gets $3 no matter what. And then she starts going up by 25 cents. Now, since I said that 1 space is worth 50 cents, then 25 cents would be halfway in between there. So at 1 mile, she would be at $3.25. At 2 miles, she would be at $3.50. At 3 miles, she was at $3.75, it says on the table. So I'll go up in between 3 and 4. And at 4 miles, she will go up to $4. I can also see that in a span of 4 miles, she went up $1. I might use that information to help me do things quicker later. Okay, now I'm going to connect her points here. Let's see one. Oops, just want to make sure I stay on her points there. Okay. And now I'm going to do Carlos in orange. And Carlos got 6 no matter what. So if he walked 0 miles, he was at 6. If he walked 1 mile, he was at 6. 2 miles at 6. 3 miles, he was at 6. 4 miles at 6, and so on. So I'm going to make him a line. Goes to there. And now we're going to later be using this graph to answer some questions. But right now, we are done graphing it. So again, we can see that Dion's line at 0 miles is at 0. Taylor's line at 0 miles is at 3. Carlos's line at 0 miles is at 6. We can see that Dion's rate of change of 2 is happening that for every x goes up by 1, then y goes up 2. For every x going up 1, y goes up value of 2. We can see that the rate of change for Taylor was 25 cents, and for every time the x goes up 1, y goes up 25 cents. And you can see that continues to be the pattern. That increase of 25 cents. And Carlos, of course, has a flat line because he has a rate of change of 0, meaning it's staying the same.